Hi guys, welcome to another video. Hope you're all keeping well. Now for this video, I'd like to do a rating of three horror movies which I watched just recently and all of which I thoroughly enjoyed. Now two of them are Australian made and one is Italian. Now, yeah, as I say, I thoroughly enjoyed them. So rather than do a video of one per movie, well, I've actually done the first one anyway. I thought I'd put one the two all together with the first one in this movie and give you a general rating, which ones I liked in order of preference. Yeah, so those movies are from the Patrick trilogy. So the first one was from 1978. That's Patrick. And then you've got the second one, which is basically just a loose sequel. Patrick Still Lives. That's the Italian one. And then you've got the remake starring Charles Dance, just called Patrick. Yeah. All right then, guys. So without further ado, let's go straight into it. Okay. So just to give you a general outline of the story of Patrick. Patrick is a young guy who he has a rather nasty accident and he becomes comatose. So he's sort of like confined to his hospital bed. He's just lying there in a vegetative state. But he's got one inner latent power, and that's the ability to move and manipulate people just with the powers of his mind, like a kind of like bedbound carry, if you like. Yeah. So yeah, very very intense telekinetic ability. Yeah. All right then, guys. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to give you the ones I liked in order. There's only three made up to now. Okay, so we're going to start with the third place. Now, coming in at number 3 in the Patrick trilogy is the second Patrick movie, made 2 years after the first one, the Italian one from 1980, and that is a movie called Patrick Still Lives. Now, the only thing with this one, guys, unlike the other two, this is strictly in foreign language. There's no English, audio in this. Yeah, but I still enjoyed it nevertheless. But this is it. As I say, I did enjoy all three movies, but this is probably the weakest one, the one if you like, at least enjoyed. Yeah. Okay, and then, guys, so I'll just read you the back of it just in case you're not familiar with it. Now we've got a blurb here, a heading that says ridiculous, sensational, and very entertaining. A slice of sleazy exploitation horror that is much better than it has any right to be. Yeah, can't say any further than that. Okay, now to the story, the outline of the story. Now this is uncut, uncensored, and scanned in 2K for the first time ever. Okay, so shortly after the Ozploitation shocker Patrick from 1978 became a worldwide hit, producer Gabriele Crisanti, hope I pronounced that correctly, who done Burial Ground, screenwriter Piero Reginoli from Nightmare City, and director Mario Landi, Giallo in Venice, went way beyond unofficial sequel or unauthorized remake to instead create this mind-boggling example of an Italian exploitation that has to be seen to be believed. Now, when a young man becomes comatose after a freak accident, his father invites 6 strangers to a secluded villa for a weekend packed with relentless nudity, outrageous violence, and perhaps the most depraved sex gore death in all of the Italian horror. I wouldn't argue with that. Oh, wow, what a death. Sacco Pitoff, Gianni Del and Mariangela Giordino's, these foreign names, star in one of the most ultimate exploitation films ever made. Yeah, Patrick Still Lives, now scanned uncut in 2K from the original negative for the very first time in 40 years. So lovers of sleazy gore should check this out. Yeah. All right, guys, I'm just going to give you my thoughts now on the movie. Yeah, and as I say, this is the least, the one I least enjoyed, but I still enjoyed it. Now it was the one like I put like under the other two. Yeah, yeah. So basically, like it's got like a slightly different take on the Patrick story. As I said when I read the blurb about like the young man, like he has a nasty road accident and becomes confined to bed and that, and his father's sort of like looking after him and that, he's a kind of a doctor. And he's got all these other bodies as well and other rooms as well, and it's like kind of like a secluded villa. So what he does, he invites all the people who's wronged him in his life, the 6 of them. He invites them all to this villa to stay in that. Well, of course, like all hell breaks loose. I don't want to give away too much of it, guys, but yeah. And as I say, like some that particularly nasty gory kill. Oh God. Yeah, I think that's one of the worst kills in horror movie history. Yeah, I won't say too much about it, guys, but I'll just say it involves a poker, a very, very lethal poker. I'll leave it at there. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so as I say, yeah, so it's basically, it deviates from the original Patrick. You can watch this movie alone, like, you don't need to get the other Patrick movies, yeah. But it's a nice colour, even though it's only shot in 16mm. But oh yeah, all the women, and the guys, if you don't like nude scenes, that you might be well advised to avoid this one. All the women either go topless or they go full frontal nudity. Yeah, away misses. Yeah, so just be warned about that. If you're averse to nudity, there is a hell of a lot of nudity in it, mixed with a good generous dollop of horror, brutal killings. Yeah, but oh yeah. Oh, and there's one in particular, two particular scenes stand out in mind killings. Like one woman gets eaten alive by a pack of ravenous Alsatian dogs, very, very gory, yeah, eaten alive by two dogs. And there's another woman, she puts her head like in a car, and the window slides up and bloody decapitates her. Yeah, I won't say any more about the other killings, guys, but that's just an example of the kind of killings you're going to see in Patrick Still Lives. Yeah, very, very enjoyable, Italian yeah, exploitation movie, but as I say, be warned, there's a lot of sex and that, and Patrick is a rather naughty boy in this one, because there's a blonde girl in it and that, is staying at the villa, and she goes into the room like to talk to him, and as she's talking to him, when I'm having these powers of his mind, he lifts a skirt goes up over her thighs and that, so it's a rather naughty behaviour there from that. Yeah, but that's the least of that's the least of the way he behaves, like, because he's very, very, oh god, even though he's lying there in this comatose state and that, completely dead to the world, but his eyes are wide open. And what you see in this movie, guys, as well, each time the scene switches to Patrick, you see it's disembodied eyes just floating into space and that, each time there's a killing or something weird happens and that. Oh yeah, very, very well done. Yeah, and as I say, not a direct sequel to the first Patrick, because obviously you've got different characters in it, but very, very enjoyable movie, and yeah, really enjoyed it. Yeah, I say this was made in 1980 and it runs to 83 minutes, but just in Italian. Yeah, but you've got the subtitles and that, But yeah, so there's the Patrick of the title here, guys, lying in bed, yeah, and his father watching over him and that. Yeah, but oh god, yeah, I've never seen so much nudity in one horror movie as I've seen in this and that. As I say, all the women, they either go topless or completely nude and that, and there's a couple of raunchy scenes and that. Yeah, so as I say, like, just bear that in mind if you don't like naughty scenes and that, but yeah. Yeah, so I'm going to be keeping this one in my collection. I'm going to be watching it again, and it would be nice to see, a big company like Arrow or Second Sight re-release it and give it the release it deserves. But having said that, this isn't a bad little addition. But I'd love to see some extras in that, guys. Yeah, so if you like your Italian, 1980s like slasher movies and that, and you like a lot of sex and gore, I think you'll get a lot of enjoyment out of Patrick Still Lives. Yeah, so there you go, guys. That's number 3. In my rankings of all 3 Patrick movies, and that is Patrick Still Lives. Okay, now we're going on to number 2. Number 2 in my Patrick trilogy. Now, this will probably surprise a lot of you guys who are familiar with the Patrick movies. I've actually picked the first Patrick movie as my number 2. Yeah, very, very enjoyable movie. Not taking anything away from it. This is the movie that started it all, guys. Patrick, the silent monster, lying there in his vegetative state in his hospital bed, and an absolute killing machine, and that, all stemming from his love of a girl. When the nurse comes to look after him, and that, he falls in love with her, and that, but he's a silent killer. And oh boy, does he take his revenge on if he thinks any fellas are getting too close to him. That the nurse actually, and this is played by Susan Penhaligon, who you remember from Bouquet Barbed Wire. But yeah, as I say, like, this very, very did nearly got to number 1, but there's just one other movie that just picked it to the post I'm going to talk about in a minute. But this is a fantastic movie, this, guys. If you haven't seen it, look at those special features. I've actually done a full review of this, so if you might want to check that out, I'll just show you again the inside of it. There's Patrick, the titular character. Yeah, lying there in his hospital bed, like, just basically lashing out with his mind and that, doing as much Carrie did, if not more damage than Carrie did, Carrie White and that, yeah, but oh yeah, the silent killer, that is Patrick. Yeah, great performances all around, guys. I really love this movie, yeah, and I would highly recommend it. If you like a sort of like these kind of movies, like a bit of sci-fi, a bit of horror, and a bit of slasher, a bit of Stephen King rolled into one. I think you'll get a lot of enjoyment out of the very first Patrick movie, but oh yeah, really enjoyable, and indicates that they did a fantastic job with this release and that, nice hard box and that, but yeah. So this is me number 2 in my Patrick trilogy. That is the very first Patrick movie from 1978. Okay then, guys, the moment you've all been waiting for. On to my number 1 pick. My favourite movie in all the 3 Patrick movies is the remake of Patrick. This stars Charles Dance, Rachel Griffiths and Shawnee Vinson. Now, this was made in 2014 and it's just called simply Patrick. Love that cover, guys, yeah. There's Charles Dance there, all really good, and the sinister Dr. Frankenstein-like character and that, oh yeah, really brutal, really cold and that, calculating that, yeah. And the girl that played the main protagonist who gets the job in the creepy, hospital. She did a fantastic job, she really did, and that, and this one here, the lady who played Charles Dance's daughter, oh yeah, she's all really cold and that, both cold, calculating characters and that, yeah. But oh, guys, this was the best one without a doubt. I was pleasantly surprised actually when I put it on tonight and watched it, and I thought to myself, I'm just going to go into it. I don't think, as a lot of these remakes I found time and time again, very, very rarely do they live up to the sequel. But by God, this surpassed the original. This surpassed the original, guys, and bucket loads. Oh yeah. Creepy hospital, a very oppressive atmosphere and that, when the girl goes for a job in the hospital and that, and she's sort of like put in charge of Patrick and that, and the guy in this who played Patrick, he was just as creepy, if not more creepy than the other two Patricks in the other 2 movies. But very, very enjoyable horror movie and that, and with this being a later Patrick movie, the horror and special effects were more advanced, if, for example, like in the first Patrick movie, when the nurse is conversing with him, when she's sitting by his bed and that, she's typing Susan Penhaligon, he just manipulates a typewriter. But in this one, with it being more advanced in the age of computers, he starts manipulating the nurse's computer, typing messages on the computer and that, I want you and all that business and that, but oh God, yeah. And again, like just in the first one, guys, any fellas getting his way in that, love-wise and that, he deals with them. And there's one particular painful scene where one of the guys who's after her and that, he has a date with her and that, Patrick gets into his mind and he makes him put his hands on these red hot rings and he burns all his hands, and his hands are like, they're just a red glistening mess, guys, yeah. Oh yeah, the horror is more extreme in this one and that. There's a very, very nasty scene, guys, involving an elevator and a co-worker, the main protagonist's co-worker who also works at the hospital. And I won't go into detail about that, but oh yeah, very, very gory scenes in this, and a real dark, oppressive atmosphere and that ominous atmosphere. I enjoyed every minute of this one, and this is truly worth its place as my number 1 of the 3 Patrick movies. Patrick, the Patrick remake from 2014. Highly recommend it. You can even watch this movie on its own, because again, it's got no connection to the other 2 and that, but Charles Dance is an absolute badass in this, as a kind of like ruthless Dr. Frankenstein character, experimenting and that, and he's got a real devious dark purpose and that, but oh yeah, really hates him and that, he's really hateful and that. This could be a Frankenstein movie and that, it's got all the vibes of a Frankenstein movie, because you've got all the other bodies as well and all the rooms and that, like Patrick and that. So he's sort of like experimenting on them and that, it's never really revealed like what his ultimate aim is and that, but he's just experimenting with them and that, and again, like just like in the first movie, it basically opens up like the nurse going for an interview in the hospital and that, and the nurse that interviews the head one, she's very, 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 very cold and that, and she's basically just heartless bitch and that, one false move and you're out basically and that, and then the doctor comes in and that, and he weighs her up and down, he says hi and that, but oh yeah, he is one of the most hateful villains I have ever seen in a modern horror movie. This character played by Charles Dance and that, really hateful he is, yeah. So, but yeah, really enjoyed this one, and if you haven't seen this or indeed any of the other 2 Patrick movies, I highly recommend you get them and that, but I was really surprised. It's always nice, guys, to see, to get a remake of a movie when you go into it, you haven't got your hopes really built up high, and you come out pleasantly surprised. I certainly came out pleasantly surprised when I watched this tonight, so I thought to myself, I'll do the video tonight and do the rankings and that, I say, rather than do 2 separate videos, I'll put them all together and rank them and that, yeah. So this is my number 1, and a worthy number 1 it is, and it is, yeah, it's the remake of Patrick from 2014. If you haven't checked it out, guys, I highly recommend it, and I really enjoyed it, and that, you know, and I was not bored one single moment in this. Indeed, even the other two Patrick movies, I wasn't bored, you know, didn't have those silly teenagers and that, you know, the usual tired old horror tropes. This was something different and that, you know, this character in the bed and that, you know, manipulating things with his mind and that, this unnerving, terrifying, psychic telekinetic ability to even get into people's minds and make them do things they would otherwise not do. I mean, one there, so the co-worker, he turns into basically like a killing zombie machine, and that, you know, the co-worker who you know, this starts work with, and that, you know, turns him into like a kind of like a, like, as I say, like a zombie and that, you know, but so many real unnerving scenes of horror in this movie, guys, and it's one of the best remakes I've ever seen of a horror movie, and that, you know, as I say, very strong vibes of Dr. Frankenstein, you know, with this evil doctor played by Charles Dance and that, you know, and he's watching the girl all the time who has the job and that, you know, takes the nurse's job on and that, you know, he's watching all the time because, like, she starts to get too friendly with Patrick, just like in the first movie, and he could pop his head behind the door and he said, like, you know, don't, never mind that. Do what you're employed to do. Oh yeah, the two of them are absolute swines, guys. They really are, father and daughter, with this nurse and that. You know, she's only wants to do her job and that. You know, and but she, you know, she does like. I suppose you could say she could take a liking to Patrick and that, but it goes down a very dark path, guys. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. All right then, guys. So that concludes my ratings of the three Patrick movies. So just to recap, I've rated Patrick Still Lives as number 3. The original Patrick, which, as I said before, was probably surprised a lot of you. The original Patrick is my second favourite Patrick movie, and the number 1, without a shadow of a doubt, is the Patrick remake. I'm very pleased to say this, actually, putting the remake. I don't think I've ever done like I've done like a trilogy of movies, and I put the remake, the first one. You know, this is a great one. This, guys, it really is. I'll definitely be keeping all 3 of these in my collection. I love the Patrick movies and that. And if you're a horror fan and you like these kind of movies with a bit of Carrie, a bit of Frankenstein all thrown in, I highly recommend that you treat yourself to the Patrick trilogy. A fine trilogy it is too, and it's great to see, like, you know, as I say, no soft teenagers and that, you know, the usual tropes and that, you know. I must say to you guys, this one here, with it being in the tradition of a lot of modern horror movies, there is more jump scares in this one than there is in the other two. But having said that, that does not detract from the wonderful story, the gripping story that is the Patrick remake. Yes, so as I say, just beware of the jump scares. There's quite a few in this and that, you know. But oh yeah, I love the setting as well. The creepy hospital that's set in the middle of nowhere and that, you know, it's real creepy. And I believe it used to be, from what I can recall, one of the characters, it used to be an old monastery and that, and this doctor took it over and that, and he sort of like done it down, like to make it kind of like a madman's laboratory, a dark laboratory. Charles Dance, oh, he's fantastic in this and that, you know. Yeah. Okay then, guys, that's it. So that's my number 1 of the Patrick trilogy movies. Yeah. Okay. Have any of you guys seen the Patrick movies? What did you think of them? Have you got a particular favourite? Do you think the remake's better than the first one? But it's a very close call, guys, because the first one is an absolute masterpiece of terror. It really is, from 1978. But this just pipped it at the post because there was more scenes of horror in this one than there was in this one. Granted, this does have its moments and that, but this has got more horror scenes, guys. So that's why I have this just stole it. You know, from the original Patrick. Yeah. Okay then, guys, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like it, you know, please feel free to share, subscribe, comments and that. And all going well. Hope to be back again very soon with another video. Take care. Bye for now.